Hi, I'm Maggie Lane with Total Health Magazine, and I'm here in Anaheim, California at the Natural Products Expo West with Wendy Strgar, Good Clean Love.
Hi, so thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I started Good Clean Love because I had been married for 17 years at the time and had 4 kids, nursed them all for way too long, and I had pain all the time with sex, and all the products on the market that my doctors would recommend made it worse, made me itch and burn, and I thought I must be allergic, so I grew up in a divorce and I didn't want to get divorced, and so I started in my kitchen trying to invent something. And now, 14 years later, we have actually the fastest selling brand of organic lubricant on the market.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the ingredients?
Yeah, so, one of the things that was really important because I started my kitchen was that if it was an ingredient that I wouldn't bring in a kitchen, it was off the shelf, right? And all of the products on the market were made with all these glycols, this propylene, ethylenes, and it was like, I would never bring something like that in my kitchen. So, we started with oil-based products. But then some of our customers were like, well, you really need a water-based lube. So what became true was that it was really hard to stabilize, so you need to make those in a lab. But then we were lucky to find a lab that was kind of out-of-the-box thinking. And so all of our lubricants now are made in a base of organic aloe, which is a really great healing material for that sort of mucosal, extra sensitive. It's actually the most sensitive tissue in the body besides the eyes and the mouth. And then, over the years, I'm a learner, so I, and for a long time people wouldn't even talk about sexual health as a category. And, I've been doing this show for 15 years, and this is the first time we've ever had a booth, so it's a little bit like changing religions. But it was a very different show. And, but for the longest time, I would be pitching this idea about sexual health, and people just were not buying it. But then after people started talking about gay marriage and they started talking about, taking pills for women's desire, we started having all these national sexual conversations. And most recently this one about Trump, right? And pussy grabbing. And so it's interesting how we've evolved culturally to really start to think about sexual health products as a category, a natural health category. And, and I think partly just because I'm not a good quitter, we've been standing for such a long time. And the most exciting thing is how we've seen the science evolve.
That's incredible. What an opportune time to be, a part of this movement, what's going on politically, nationally and internationally.
Yeah, it really is, because I just was reading an article last night about Polish women, fighting for the rights of their vagina. And so women, I think, are not afraid to use that word anymore, and hooray, and I actually just completed my second book called Sex That Works, and it was published by Sounds True, which just in itself is an honor, and so actually we're sort of waiting for Trump to fall out of line sexually, which I think is just a matter of seconds. And then the book could maybe get caught up in that news cycle. But even if you're not in that news cycle, if you're really just trying to figure out where your passion is, what is it that allows you to feel freer, even 1 inch freer sexually, that actually shifts your whole life. And so that's really what the book is about, is just that getting over being normal problem and bringing curiosity and courage to your sex life. And it's amazing. I always say, if you could only solve one problem on the planet and it was sex, you'd solve all the other problems.
I think that's great. It's a really positive message, and it's really important to express that in today's society, where it is a taboo topic still today in the 21st century.
Huh? Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's taboo partly because when we think about sexuality in our country, of course we think Tinder, Grindr, right, and all the ways that young people have given up the idea that they can fall in love, and that they've sort of replaced that with these hookups that really end up being very harmful for a lot of women. But when you look at the world and you think about sexual sort of health and sexuality, how many women today are still being killed, for expressing any rights, for let alone sexual rights, so I feel like there's a consciousness about women that has really yet to elevate. And sexuality, we are, one of the things I say in my book is that, women who are sexually confident and really know their own pleasure because they've learned about it themselves are the most powerful women in a room.
I agree with that.
And men worship that. There's nothing a man wants more than a woman who knows how to love and give love.
That's incredible. And what way to do it? Through sex?
Well, that's actually, after we eat, drink, and sleep, the next thing we are is sexual. And if we could just get over it and just sort of make that a normal part of who we are every day, everything would change.
The world would be such a healthier place.
Totally.
It's interesting. I remember it being a hot topic during the Olympics with the swimmer from China,
right,
talking about tampons and the lack of accessibility with those products.
Yeah, actually, it's so interesting because one of the things that we've really noted as we've gotten to see the floor is this surge in this kind of organics, because so many of those products have such nasty ingredients, like undisclosed nasty ingredients. So there seems to be this big surge in natural now to really do that, and we ourselves are going to get in on that for both incontinence and period by, there's some panties that people are looking at that are just, we've got to stop throwing stuff away, So for us, we make our tubes out of sugar cane, which is, recyclable, 85% recyclable. Wherever we can save the environment, we're actually going to try and go carbon neutral this year.
Oh, that's amazing.
If you haven't seen this movie, to all the viewers, Before the Flood, Leonardo DiCaprio, who's one of the most famous actors, National Geographic, everybody's heard of them and nobody's heard of this movie. And I'm telling you, you watch this movie and you really rethink every moment of your life.
That's incredible.
And that's one of the reasons I decided to say, I don't know what it's going to cost or how to become carbon neutral, but I'm going to do it.
I think you will. I think you are very determined, and I believe in that. I'm excited to see that product and what happens.
So, the thing is that carbon neutrality, if everybody paid for their carbon, we would live totally differently.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
There's so much opportunity to learn and educate ourselves.
Totally.
How are we going about doing that, and how are you infiltrating society and making your mark? I know through your book, but how can we find you?
So I have a really beautiful blog, which is called Making Love Sustainable, and we also have a really gorgeous website, goodcleanlove.com, and those things might even become one soon. My book will be available through Sounds True, but you can pre-order Sex That Works now on Amazon. And, I just feel like if you're awake, there are so many people, especially at this conference, who are so about waking up and becoming part of a solution. And so when you start to surround yourself by people who are trying to solve problems, that's where stuff tilts. The world shifts a little bit.
Beautiful law of attraction and being able to manifest those dreams and desires, which are needed.
Yeah, I just think the more that you're focused on the resonant truth of what you're doing, and you're not worried about the money. I was lucky that I didn't have to really worry about that. I was married, and I am married, and so I could let Good Clean Love evolve in the very long time it took to evolve, and it was I had the privilege of doing that. Wow. A lot of companies don't have that time, which I think makes us make bad decisions.
That's right. Fortunately, you haven't had that experience.
I've been able to do that. And we have this other thing. The last thing I just want to say is that even for people who are not feeling like they're sexual or they're interested in that part of their life, feminine hygiene is something that we've become so interested in, partly because of this study I told you about. And I met the biophysicist. So I'm really I love science, and I love when science works in nature. And so in life, you can bring real scientific discovery to life. And, we're sort of like a country that hates and loves science, But so we have this feminine hygiene biomatch line that even if you're not sexual, if you have odor problems, or which every woman does at some point, a lot of times they don't realize that's bacterial vaginosis. And it's a real problem because it becomes kind of a bacteria playground where you're 60% more susceptible to HIV and STDs. So we created this whole biomatch line so that women could use their body's natural wisdom to protect themselves.
Interesting. I know that's a very acidic area in the body.
Exactly, the most acidic actually. So maintaining that pH, that 3.7 pH, is everything because bad bacteria can't thrive then. So that's a huge piece, really huge piece,
Wendy, thank you so much. It's such an honor to be with you.
It's really delightful to meet you too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for being here and listening to Wendy Strgar with Good Clean Love at the Natural Products Expo West in Anaheim, California. I'm Maggie Lane with Total Health Magazine.